Every night, I could hear the muffled sounds coming from the room my cousin Lily shared with her boyfriend Marcus. It only made my own restless cravings feel more intense. Gradually, I found myself drifting into fantasies about what it would feel like to have Marcus touch me. It all came to a head when Lily invited me to join her on a trip back to her hometown for New Year's Eve. At the station, I realized Marcus was coming along to meet her parents. I couldn't help but let my jaw drop slightly. He was about 6'3" and built like a pro athlete, the kind of man who was impossible to ignore. When he saw me, he gave me a slow, head-to-toe look over. He was wearing a pair of gray shorts that left very little to the imagination regarding his physique. He greeted me, but his gaze seemed fixed on my chest. I had developed quite early, and today I was wearing a low-cut V-neck top that showcased a rather deep neckline. I was also in a short skirt. I knew that if I leaned over even slightly, everything would be on display. As he stood behind me, I could feel the heat of his gaze. It hit me then. With his height, he probably had a clear view of everything. I instinctively tugged at my shirt and skirt, my cheeks burning. He casually looked away and mentioned he was going to grab some snacks for the trip. Watching him walk away, I couldn't resist teasing Lily. I've heard personal trainers are something else. Is it true? Lily gave me a mysterious, flushed smile. Oh, it's true. He definitely knows how to keep me satisfied. He's incredibly well endowed. I caught my breath. My God, that must feel incredible. I couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to experience that just once. I glanced back in his direction. As he walked, his physical presence was undeniable, shifting with every step. I'd heard rumors about how much a man like that could grow. I felt a sudden weakness in my legs just thinking about the logistics of it. Lily had told me before that he was high maintenance, needing attention several times a day. Every time I saw her, she had a certain radiant glow. It was clear she was being very well taken care of. As I was lost in thought, Lily leaned over and winked at me. Want to give him a try? My breathing hitched. I bit my lip, feeling a wave of guilty excitement. Lily, stop teasing me! I looked up and saw a flash of genuine interest in Marcus's eyes as he overheard our exchange. Finally, we boarded the train. Lily had booked a private sleeper cabin for us. It was just the three of us in the compartment, with a curtain drawn across the entrance for privacy. She and Marcus settled onto the bunk opposite mine. Lily leaned against him, scrolling through her phone, while his hands began to wander freely. Watching them, my face felt like it was on fire. I tried to focus on my own phone to hide the awkwardness, but my eyes kept drifting back. Lily was wearing a tight purple dress that hugged every curve perfectly. 10 minutes passed, and I noticed Marcus's hand slipping beneath the fabric several times. When his hand eventually emerged, it was glistening. Lily whispered shyly, "Wait. Claire is still right here." As night fell and the train grew quiet, the attendant dimmed the lights to their lowest setting. To my shock, Lily climbed onto Marcus's lap and they began to move in rhythm. I licked my lips, my mind racing with vivid images. Before I knew it, I drifted off to sleep. I don't know how long I was out, but Lily's voice eventually woke me. I opened my eyes to find the cabin lights back on. Lily gave me a playful wink. "Claire, are you hungry? Could you go to the dining car and grab 3 meals for us?" Looking at the obvious physical state Marcus was in, I knew exactly what she was asking for. "Sure," I replied quickly. As I stepped out, I heard Lily's soft whispers behind me. To give them plenty of time, I deliberately stayed in the dining car and finished my own meal before heading back. But when I pulled back the curtain, I saw they were still in the middle of it. They were so lost in the moment they didn't even notice I was there. I quietly stepped back, but I couldn't help but peek through the gap. I was stunned by the scene, the sheer intensity and the positions they were capable of. I leaned against the corridor wall, my body feeling heavy and weak as I listened to the rhythmic sounds of their passion. About 15 minutes later, the sounds finally subsided. I walked back in, but as I did, my foot slipped. The meal containers I was carrying tumbled onto my bunk. A pair of strong, steady arms caught me. I looked up, and right before my eyes was the sight of the scattered food, sausages and meatballs, mixing with the vivid image of Marcus's imposing physical presence. My face turned a deep shade of scarlet. Lily rushed over to comfort me. "It's okay. You can just squeeze in with us. We're almost there anyway," Lily suggested. "What?" My heart hammered against my ribs, but looking at his staggering physical presence, I felt an inexplicable surge of adrenaline. Lily leaned in closer. She carried the faint, musky scent of their recent intimacy. "Marcus and I have a double-sized bunk. There's plenty of room for 3. Glancing at my own bed, which was now a disaster of greasy food and stains, I bit my lip. "Okay, fine." I had originally intended to sleep on the outside edge next to Lily, but she insisted that since both she and Marcus tended to get overheated, they wanted me sandwiched in the middle. I had no choice but to agree. Marcus was massive, a wall of pure muscle. Once the 3 of us lay down, the true reality of the cramped space hit me. I lay with my back to him, but as the train swayed and groaned along the tracks, he kept brushing against me. The constant friction sent a slow, pulsing heat through my body. I had been so buried in my work for years that I'd never even had a boyfriend. Lily must have been exhausted from earlier. It wasn't long before her breathing became deep and rhythmic. Marcus, however, was still awake, staring at his phone. I had hoped to chat with Lily to ease the tension, but now I was trapped in the middle, unable to move. Suddenly, the train gave a violent lurch, forcing me to flip over to face Marcus. Because of his height, my head only reached his chest. In the next heartbeat, I felt something firm and searingly hot press against my lower abdomen. Could it be? I swallowed hard, trying to suppress the thrill of it while I struggled to find a more comfortable position. But then, I heard a low, gravelly mumble from above. That voice, thick with masculine energy, made my ears turn bright red. "Sorry." I cleared my throat softly and glanced back at Lily. She was dead to the world. I looked up to see Marcus's face flushed a deep crimson. He shook his head. "It's fine. The train is just jumping around too much. I'll try to move over." He shifted his weight, and his hardness brushed against me. Whether by accident or design, I couldn't tell. My mouth went bone dry. I felt a wave of heat wash over me. The sheer scale of him. I could hardly wrap my head around it. I instinctively pressed my legs together, trying to find some grounding. Just as I managed to put an inch of space between us, the train plunged into a tunnel, shaking even more violently. I was tossed back and forth, my body sliding uncontrollably toward him. Before I knew it, I was backed right up against him. I gave an instinctive little squirm. My God. I was wearing a short skirt and by now it had hiked up almost to my waist. A hand found its way onto my hip, his breathing becoming ragged as if he were fighting for control. Another jolt hit, and I lost all restraint, accidentally bouncing against him and letting out a small, breathless sound. The train's whistle shrieked just in time to drown it out. My cheeks were burning as I risked a glance at Marcus. He was licking his lips, his eyes fixed on me like a predator watching its prey. This train is really something, isn't it? I murmured awkwardly. Nervously, I scooted as close to Lily as possible, pretending not to notice that his heavy length was pressing firmly into the small of my back. I was damp with perspiration. A faint, salty scent of sweat filled the air, only adding to the suffocating tension. I bit my lip hard, closing my eyes and feigning sleep to escape the embarrassment. But even with my eyes shut, my body felt like it was on fire. I couldn't stop the images from flashing through my mind. Lily hadn't been exaggerating. He really was built like nothing I'd ever seen. The train skipped several more stations. The neighboring cabins had gone quiet and empty. It was just the three of us. Lily woke up briefly for a sip of water and then drifted right back to sleep. I considered moving to an empty cabin, but the moment the train started moving again, the swaying was so intense I couldn't even stand up. I had no choice but to stay pinned between them. Now, Marcus and I were face to face. In the dim light, I could clearly see the heat in his face. He was staring intently at his phone. I caught a glimpse of the reflection in the window and realized he was watching something incredibly graphic. Overcome with shame, I quickly turned away, but my body responded with a traitorous heat of its own. To avoid any further interaction, I stayed as still as a statue, pretending to be asleep. But the tracks were unforgiving. A massive jolt sent me sprawling directly onto Marcus. A low, hoarse groan escaped him. I was plastered against his chest. In the panic of the moment, my hand instinctively grabbed onto something solid to steady myself. To avoid the sheer humiliation of looking him in the eye, I kept them squeezed shut, continuing my act. Behind me, Lily's breathing remained steady, undisturbed. I stayed there, flush against Marcus. But I never expected what happened next. His hand suddenly reached down, hooking the waistband of my underwear.